All right. Morals. This is kind of to coincide with my opinions, because when you get an opinion, it's formed from your morals, and your morals are what you were brought up believing, or taught to believe, or allowed yourself to take in and think. Now here, my old dictionary, moral is concerned with character or disposition, or with the distinction between right and wrong. Now there's actually quite a bit. I'm just gonna have to stop doing this, but there's, I don't know if you can read it, all that. It's hard for me to bend. All that and some up here. Trying to get it all. All right. You can hit pause on that if you could. All right. Now here it says, there. I like the way they talk in this older dictionary a lot of the time. Here, the 1, concerning right and wrong. 2, a lesson taught by example, set in a story or fable. So basically, it's a lesson taught. So they're explaining here that it's something you learn, or you've taken and accepted basically yourself, and think it's good. Now you can go into a lot of morals with the fables and stuff. So it's almost a good way to go. Now, to me, a moral is more of a standard, if you will. It's or an obligation for yourself to keep. And I think a lot of people have trouble in life. I see people have trouble in lives, and I want to say take it out on others, but it's how I perceive it to be, when they compromise their own morals. And it happens where I see a lot in work. They don't believe, in their mind, they need to work more than this amount of time, but they don't want to disappoint the boss who's asking them to work overtime. They know their physical body is at a problem state already, but they're going to go and push, and then they might go into some form of breakdown or something, or physically. I used to work with a guy who used to get migraines all the time, but he was, if you're going to try to work 50, 60 hours in a hard sun, and the way he was treating his own body, as well as letting the company treat it, to me was always too much. I used to know my body and what its standards were, and it's a moral obligation to me not to abuse my body in certain ways. And they used to think I was funny when I used to say, well, I'm working from when I first started realizing what happening to my body under the states I was working at 60 hours a week. I had to understand, when you're working physical, hard outdoor labor. I was should explain, a stonemason. Basically was what I was doing at the time, when I said that I was only going to be working from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and that was 4 days a week, and then we work part-time on basically 4 hours on Friday, and there's our 44-hour full-time. And to me, that's our maximum full-time we need to really be doing. And asking me to do more than that with this is a hardcore hammer we would have in our hand with a chisel, and the feeling you got in your forearms were just ridiculous here. To the feeling, it was like you were plucking strings at one point. Your arm just could not do it, and you're going to ask me to do more hours. I can't put out more than I'm going to do. If you want me to stand there, it's like a waste of their own time. Now I feel bad if I'm going to take the money from a company and I'm not doing nothing for it. So it's like I'm lying to take. If I tell the truth, I'm in trouble. If I say I'm only working these hours, the guys, because there was one individual working with me, he's upset because now he's working less than his time. But I know he can't do it himself because I'm watching him stop himself and do so it's like I feel like I'm morally obligated to follow these things. Now, people get mad at me for my morals and the way I set them, and I just follow through with them. Now, some people, in fact, might think it's funny, but I actually brought this down. It's a little exercise book they'd give you in school when you were young, but it's 32 pages. I filled out 31, and it's essentially, as they would say, rights and wrongs. What you believe are rights and wrongs, okay? And these are what I believe are, let's say human rights, but what I believe is just rights. what's right to do and what people deserve, and those are what I believe are like basically my moral standard. I have morals basically in there, and I can't compromise my morals, because when I do, they harm me more than I can see they harming anybody else, when whether it's it's a company losing money or something like that. So to me, I don't like to test my morals in the sense of breaking them, and when I set them. Now, most people don't change their morals, they'll hide their morals trying to gain benefit somehow, which is, in my mind, never leads to goodness or good things towards one person. It will harm the individual themselves if you're compromising, or you end up actually changing your morals and not realizing it and going towards I don't want to say a more extreme state, but if changing a moral, downgrading a moral is a very I don't want to say dangerous, but it's not a good thing, and it seems to be the easy way to get ahead in life for most people. They'll be taught don't lie, don't steal, and then you'll see everybody doing it. They don't mind hooking up the illegal cable, and they made a commercial, I know, on TV in our country about it, because it's a thing. I remember being offered, because people downstairs at the time were doing it, and I'm not going to go rat people out, because this is a long time ago for me, but I'm not going to rat people out and cause trouble. Also, whether I don't want to say I'm compromising my morals to say looking the other way on certain things, but to me, there's obligations companies see to hold. If you should go around and know who's using cable and that and whatnot. I would be, if I was selling something, I would know who was using my product. But I'm not going to steal their thing. Now, they offered to go hook it up for me, and I told them no. I've never had satellite or cable or I've only had rabbit ears in my life, and the free channel, whatever comes free through the air, I don't mind using. And I don't feel like I'm stealing something there. So I'm not bending my morals. I'm not paying for it to get to see the channel, but they're making money through their advertisement. So I'm not feeling bad, but I'm not about to just take free channels because somebody can just not say steal. Now, I even if they're taking it and I'm getting it, there's no money being. It's not like people are losing money because I'd be getting it. But I still don't see it as morally right to take when you're not going to pay for something like that. So to me, it became one of these issues all the time. Here's case point. I morally won't pick up a phone. It's ringing right now, my phone. I always let the answering machine pick up, because usually there's nobody on the other end when the answering machine actually picks up, because it's telemarketers. And that, because I don't talk to a lot of people, happens more than probably 95% of the time. Clearly you can hear there's nobody on the other end of the answering machine. It rings 3 times and then an answering machine picks up. Now, what are their morals? This is an awesome, this has never happened for me, a ring in a video, but it happens. What are their morals? Especially if they're going to call back on their telemarketers and they're working for these companies that they know hate people, or people hate calling and being bothered with, and you go work there and just accept the money. But you'll go back home and you'll hate that person that called your house, right? Well, what are your moral standards when you're able to just fluctuate them? I remember, I can use this as a great point. I was out of work for a time when I moved down south. My morals were really tested there, but anyways, I moved, and I was out of work for a little bit of time, and the first job that I could find was minimum wage, and it was working on a chicken farm where there's it's where everybody's chicken comes from in this world, basically, the high industry chicken. And I believe it was 140,000 chickens in one little barn. And it was not little, but it's one barn. And I was 7 stages, they call them, 7 stages up, and I'm on like a little roller bar thing. And I had to reach into a chicken, it's about this big by that big. I think that there's 2 chickens in each. And it's where the eggs come out. It's for the chickens to lay the eggs. So there's a little tray that catches the eggs that roll down, and then you got the carpet that picks up the all their droppings and everything. Anyways, what had happened was the people that were installing that cage hadn't put in a clip in the very back of the cage where the two pieces of cage met. So it was like this, where it would flap, and chickens, because there was two on this side and two on that side, were getting their heads, because of the bending that could happen, were getting heads and stuff. So a whole bunch of chickens were dying. Now, who went and forgot that? That was a huge issue there. But now I work there. It's my first day, and I get there, and my job is I got to go in, stick my head into this cage, which is I would say about 3 feet deep or so, because I had to reach all the way to the back and use the clip to put a little clip on. Like there's a little clip to do that. I had to stick my head actually in the cage, and because where the eggs and everything roll, and the chickens are I'd say every third cage there was an egg or two rotten, and just the smell was like, to me, I got sick many times that day. I did the whole day, but I got sick many times. Now we drove out. I was with a whole bunch of they were all I don't want to say Mexicans, because I know there was one Mexican and there was one guy from El Salvador, but they're all South America. No, I don't want to say that, because Mexico is in North America now. Anyways, they were all of Latin, I guess to say would be a great Latin Americans, if you will. I guess that would be a great term. Anyways, I was in a ride with them, so it was 5 of us and drive out to the country. So I didn't. First of all, I knew I couldn't just leave and go back home, but I did out the day. Now, every 10th cage had a dead rotting chicken. Like, they weren't being taken out. Now, my moral standards were really, really being tested at this point, but I put up with a job that most people would never do or would have left right away, and I kept putting in these clips. Now, when I was about, it was lunchtime and I came back down, the guy told me when I came back from lunch that he went back up on my rail and he went and re-looked because he couldn't believe how much work I had done, and he thought I was just throwing out the carcasses and not doing any of the work in those. And he couldn't believe that, and he said he couldn't find one cage that I missed putting a clip on. And when he was looking at the individuals that I came in the ride with them, he said, if you just stay here a little long, you'll be running all these guys, and I wouldn't even need to come and check out. You can come and set up, because this is a company that's hired to come in and set these cages, and maintain or whatever these cages. So, I was essentially told how good I was, but I was sitting there in what I considered some of the most, why isn't somebody being punished who did that job, and how many chickens and animals had to be harmed and everything. And then the standards were maybe not as good as I thought. Now I can say this because I've had 50 chickens of my own. I don't want to say rescued them, but essentially if chickens aren't laying or doing good enough, what they'll take chickens and do often is right while they're alive, and these are small farms, tiny farms, because it's too much to bring them to the poulter, if you will, or to the butcher. Anyways, to get up the chickens done up, it's just too much work and effort on their behalf, that they'll usually just take the chickens alive, put them in a hole in the ground, bury it, and that's how they dispose of them. A lot of people do these kind of cruel and morbid things, and to me that's when I not say know about it, but when I'm aware to it to a degree and I can do something about it, I feel almost a moral obligation when I can do something. So anyways, I had 50 chickens, and to me, I took care of them. People couldn't believe because I let them out in my backyard after once they got habituated real well in my yard. I let them out and about, and people couldn't believe that I would put my arm out like this, and they would come up and literally like a pet bird come up on my arm and sit there. Now I believe that's the right way to raise a chicken. A chicken's not scared of me. So the day that I would take the chicken and I would bring it over, and I would literally hold my chicken. Hey, nice cat. He comes up perfect timing. Anyways, I could hold my chicken and my animal like this, and it wouldn't spaz out. It wouldn't. You would realize how calm it was. So the day, and I would do this to the chickens too. So the chickens always, they knew I could give them a scratch on the back of the head. They knew they were never going to be harmed or anything like that. So the day that it's, supper time more or less, I could hold that chicken, and the animal never stressed out, never worried, never feared, never had a bad time of its life. I gave it its own, as much food as they were required, with a perfect balanced diet, as well as anything they could get on their own. So to me, that's my moral obligations on how I had to take care of these animals. So, my morals, I can't compromise. Like, I won't let my cat outside because other individuals on how they'll treat my animal. I could never allow that to happen to my animal, because how I believe my reaction wouldn't be good. Because if I don't want to say fix their morals, but if I find their morals are so harmful to others, and and that comes to affect me, it becomes an issue for me. So I don't try to push morals, or try to I don't want to say go out and be around. I try not to associate with people that don't have the same morals like me, and it's hard to find very high what I consider moral standards to the point where I would even write them down, because I can't test something. Like, can you kill something? You shouldn't eat something you're not willing to kill. I want to say that I'd be never willing to eat my cat. So in fact, I couldn't kill my cat. It would be next to impossible unless I saw it was the I don't want to say it got hit by a car, but it needed to be really, I don't want to say put an animal suffer, but I believe an animal should have the, I don't want to say quality, but if they're your pet and something you claim you love the way I would my animal, why wouldn't it get the same care as a person I say I'd love? Because then you don't really love something if you're just willing to put it to sleep for no problem. Now I can say with my morals, my brother was going to put his animal to sleep because it couldn't walk up the stairs anymore, and I felt so upset about that, and I told him I wouldn't talk to him ever again if he did that. And I said, I'm willing to take the animal in here. I built a ramp for the animal myself so the animal could come in and out the house, because it couldn't walk upstairs anymore. Now that's how I believe. And then it ended up having a stroke, and I still didn't believe. I built a carrier for it and everything, on a dolly with foam and blankets. I cut out in the foam so it could relieve itself. I made sure it was fed. I take it out the side, in and out. I even set up a horse, like a working horse, so that actually I could put her up so she would be up like normally. I treated the animal, and she was around no different than you would treat basically a human. Now, I wouldn't say I want to do that for the rest of my life with animals, but for animals that, that dog had a lot of, I've spent a lot of time with that dog. So for me, you should give, something, I feel morally obligated to give something that I claim that I love, the true love that I would give anything that I love, you treat everything right, and I believe, that's what right and wrong is, just like they say a moral is. So if you're testing your morals and your rights and what you think is right and wrong, and you wishy-washy on it, but you'll find it a lot more hard. If more people stood to their morals, maybe they're not agreeing with somebody else's morals, but stood to their morals, I think this world would be a far more properly opinionated world. All right, I hope my morals, my moral ideas came across good for everybody.